afternoon. Thanks for stopping in. We have some wonderful speakers to share with you today. These are speakers from Diptyque Audio. They're based in Montauban, France, and they are the brainchildren of Gilles Duzièche and Eric Poix. They have been making speakers, well, close to 20 years as Diptyque and 30 years as enthusiasts. These speakers are really quite remarkable. We have the DP77 and the DP160. These are isodynamic speakers, also often referred to as planar speakers in the US. I've been a fan of planar speakers for many, many, many years, way back to the early Apogee days. And these speakers have many of the positive attributes of planars without many of the drawbacks. Gilles and Eric, I think, had probably also, wanted to come up with something that really validated the music. And there are a lot of upsides to an isodynamic or planar approach. That is, you have almost zero excursion compared to a cone speaker. So you don't have overshoot or undershoot. You're always on time for the next musical signal by virtue of the fact that you're moving so little. These are completely unique in that a lot of the old problems, like for instance, speakers were typically very, very hard to drive. You remember the Apogee Scintilla that was a 1-ohm speaker. There was only one amplifier on the market that could drive it. Well, it's certainly not a problem with these speakers. They present a very benign load to your amplifier, a very fairly flat impedance curve. They do that by virtue of using the same material for the mid-range and bass panels that are inclusive to each speaker, so that the crossover can be a far simpler matter. Partially I think materials have evolved, and they are certainly reaping the benefits. And of course there are many other attributes to these speakers that are singular to them. They have what is called a push-pull bipolar magnetic system. In the vast majority of these types of speakers, you have magnets on one side or the other. These, you have magnetics on both sides of the conductive material. That allows for an even quicker response and an even more dynamic one. It's really quite extraordinary. They come in 3 different sizes right now: the DP77, which you see here, the DP140, which we don't have on hand at the moment, and this is their larger speaker, the DP160. We will be playing them later with Cora amplification. I think it can give you somewhat of an idea. We had a couple of studio engineers in earlier today who were simply floored by the level of detail that they heard from these speakers, which is always one of the first impressions with this type of speaker. But adding to that a phenomenal depth of stage with these speakers, and a dynamic and palpable bass sense. These, were the silk screens you can get to come on top, which is a wonderful attribute. They look to me very nice naked as well. They can be had in almost any finish, varying woods and varying color of the metal. And here we will unclothe the DP77. See, to me, it's quite an attractive speaker, with or without the silk screening. And these are just a small additional cost, and you can, of course, send your own art to be placed on this, and to our ears, it is inaudible. And I think it's 50-50 whether people prefer the speaker as it is or with a covering. One of the attributes they possess, which doesn't come up on a lot of hi-fi forums, but comes up quite a bit with dealers and end users, is the idea of a kid-friendly speaker. Certainly, to me, this would, not be nearly as remarkable as their sound, which is remarkable. But it is nice to have a speaker that has a metal casing that is completely impervious to little fingers. So that's a wonderful thing. We have a 2-year-old, so we very much appreciate that aspect of these speakers, aside from absolutely loving the sound. So we hope you will stop back by for one of our videos, actually to get a listen. And of course, there's a limit to how much you can garner from a video on YouTube, but it can give you an idea, especially speakers like this, which will give you, by virtue of the drivers and the way they're designed, you will hear things in recordings you very likely haven't heard before. Thanks for stopping by.